Welcome to The Explainer. Okay, today we're jumping right into a highly charged, super anti-establishment rant from the show Tomcat's World. Specifically, we're unpacking episode 8, which the host, Tomcat, titled Too Many Chiefs. And let me tell you, he unleashes this incredibly passionate, totally unfiltered critique of the modern online survivalist and freedom fighter communities. We're going to break down his exact arguments, looking impartially at this massive tension between digital activism and corporate monetization. We're basically asking, what does it actually mean to be a rebel in the modern internet age?
Okay, let's dive into this, because it brings up what is honestly the ultimate paradox of the modern internet. Can you actually fight the system while actively profiting from it? We see it all the time, right? Countless influencers out there claiming to be these hardcore rebels or anti-establishment warriors. But, as Tomcat argues, these exact same people are deeply, deeply embedded in the very financial ecosystems they claim to oppose. He's challenging us to look past all the tough talk and ask a really uncomfortable question. Is a monetized freedom fighter literally just a contradiction in terms?
Because, from his perspective, there's a seriously glaring cognitive dissonance happening online right now. On one hand, you've got these influencers projecting this huge image of anti-system rebellion. They're preaching this feel-good message that, we can all rise up and change the world. But then, on the exact same channel, they're peddling corporate affiliate links. Tomcat points out that you simply can't sincerely advocate for breaking away from the system while, in the next breath, begging your followers to use your specific promo code. In his eyes, if you're playing for both teams, you're really just shilling for the exact corporations you claim to be fighting against.
And he doesn't hold back or just speak in vague hypotheticals here. He names names. He specifically calls out survival food companies that are constantly promoted in these communities, brands like ReadyWise, Austin Farms, and Nutrient Survival. According to Tomcat, pausing your fiery anti-establishment manifesto to offer your audience 10% off tactical freeze-dried food, that is pure cowardice. He totally dismisses the products themselves, arguing that pushing corporate survival meals completely invalidates any underlying message of true, rugged independence.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the core metaphor driving Tomcat's entire worldview. Too many chiefs, not enough Indians. That's his way of separating the performative talkers from the actual boots-on-the-ground doers in digital activism. He uses this old sociological idiom to describe the current landscape of the survival and freedom-fighting space, and he diagnoses what he sees as a fatal, almost terminal imbalance in how these movements operate. Let's actually break down exactly how he defines these two totally opposing groups.
First up, we've got the chiefs. To Tomcat, these are basically influencers suffering from massive main character syndrome. And we've all seen them, right? Creators who view themselves as the ultimate action hero of their own story. They're chasing affiliate links, they're running their mouths, but they aren't taking any real risks. They put on this tough guy mask to convince people they're leaders, but when the pressure is actually on, Tomcat argues they lack the literal backbone for real-world action, and they'll fold the absolute second their precious sponsorships are at risk.
Then, in direct contrast to that, you have the Indians, and this is the group Tomcat strongly identifies with. These are the grassroots, boots-on-the-ground folks, the actual doers. These are the individuals who walk the walk, backing up their words with real substance and genuine attitude. To him, they're the missing, absolutely crucial element of any real grassroots action. His central thesis is basically that the internet is just overwhelmingly flooded with these self-appointed chiefs, which leaves this massive deficit of the everyday committed people you actually need to drive real change.
And you can really hear the raw emotion and frustration when he says, and I'm quoting here, they're the kind of people that'll talk tough online, say all the right things, but there's no spine, there's no backbone behind it. He is just thoroughly, completely exhausted by this performative online toughness. Because, well, it's easy to put on a character, right? It's easy to tell an audience exactly what they want to hear. But without the willingness to actually put yourself at risk in the real world, he views all those tough words as entirely empty.
So we're really looking at this massive illusion versus reality dynamic here. The illusion is the influencer stacking up subscribers, pulling in that AdSense revenue, and successfully playing the role of the ultimate rebel. But the reality is they're playing right into the exact corporate system they claim to be fighting against. Tomcat argues that the second you soften your message to appease the YouTube algorithm, or you tone it down for your sponsors just so you can buy a new toy with your AdSense money, boom, you instantly transform from a rebel into just another corporate media darling.
So, what does selling out actually look like in this specific community? Well, to Tomcat, it's not just about taking corporate bribes through brand deals. It goes much deeper.
It's about shielding your followers from corporate interests behind the scenes. It's about surrounding yourself with an echo chamber of yes men who just stroke your ego all day. And ultimately, it's about treating your community as nothing more than a metric. A view, a like, a comment, literally just another potential customer to extract money from. He views this as a really profound betrayal of the audience's trust.
Now, to prove he actually walks the walk himself, Tomcat points to a pretty staggering number: 3,000. That is the number of videos he has made without ever bending the knee to corporate sponsors. He uses this massive body of work as living proof of his unmonetized dedication to his message. He emphasizes that he genuinely does not care about subscriber counts or popularity contests. He even gives a shout out to a fellow creator, Joe Morgan, holding him up as another real one who absolutely refuses to sell out. For Tomcat, doing this consistently over thousands of videos without a corporate paycheck, that's the ultimate proof of authenticity.
And his stance on free speech is completely uncompromising. He flat out says, "You don't have to like the messenger, but I'm just as free to say it as you are to hear it." He totally acknowledges that a core part of real free speech involves facing serious, real-world repercussions. And he emphatically states that he has paid those prices and he simply does not care. He's so utterly dedicated to this unfiltered truth that he casually mentions he's willing to speak his mind until he's dead and buried, even adding with his dark sense of humor that he's already died 3 times and came back.
Let's move to and see how this builds, because Tomcat isn't just sitting here airing grievances, he's actually proposing a philosophical solution. He calls for a revolution by mindset. He argues that society as a whole has been brainwashed into this deep, deep complacency, just accepting that things can't fundamentally change. So his goal is to shake people awake from this collective mind meld and force them to dramatically reevaluate how they interact with the world and the systems governing their everyday life.
And despite his really aggressive tone throughout the episode, his prescribed action isn't a physical rebellion at all. It's a mental shift. He states firmly, "I'm not trying to start a revolution through violence. I'm trying to start a revolution by mindset." He genuinely believes that all it takes is one person to start changing perspectives. If enough people mentally reject the current system and prepare themselves to be truly independent, he believes everything bad in the world could theoretically be ended tomorrow.
So how do you actually achieve this mindset? Well, he lays out some pretty uncompromising steps. First, stop the self-pity. If you have the energy to sit around and cry and complain, you have the energy to take action. Second, accept the real-world consequences of your words and stand by them no matter the pushback. And third, if you absolutely must engage with the corporate system, use the enemy's weapons against them to help others, not just to enrich yourself. He's actually so passionate about this awakening that he even wrote a song called Freedom Fighter just to inspire this exact mental shift in his audience.
This all builds to a really harsh critique of modern complacency. He calls out these self-defeatist types, people living in absolute creature comforts, eating fast food and ramen, but crying about being hopelessly trapped with no money. Against that kind of complacency, Tomcat demands action. He reminds his listeners that they are from a country of rebels whose historical job is literally to rock the boat. Interestingly, he totally dismisses conventional political action. He states that relying on voting has been proven time and time again to be a complete failure, leaving direct personal action and mental resilience as the absolute only valid paths forward.
So, the crucial point is his provocative warning he leaves us with. In a world where attention is everything, right down to the minute detail, if you don't pick a side is going to pick you. Tomcat has clearly, definitively chosen his side, uncompromising free speech and a total rejection of corporate selling out. But it leaves all of us to wonder, in our highly monetized, completely attention-driven digital world, is it actually possible to remain a true rebel? Or does the system eventually just absorb us all? Thanks for joining me on The Explainer today. Keep questioning the systems around you, and I'll catch you next time.